Today, I'm going to show you a quick review of a therapist's homepage and go through some easy changes that can be made that will make a big difference to a first time visitor understanding what you do and whether they reach out. I've spent over 20 years in content and user experience design, and I'll be looking at this homepage from the perspective of a first time visitor. So let's get stuck in. So the first thing I immediately notice about this homepage is that the text is very hard to read. And that's because it doesn't stick out sufficiently from the background. There's not enough color contrast. A quick fix is to change the background color or the text color to really make it pop on the screen so it's a lot easier to read. The other thing that I'm noticing immediately is that the text column is really wide. So what that means is that somebody reading the screen, their eyes have to move a lot from the left to the right in order to read the text. A quick fix for this is to reduce the column width for the text so that the eyes don't have to move so much across the page, and this will just reduce any eye strain and make the page much easier to read, which is going to encourage somebody to stick around and read what has been written. The other thing I quickly notice is that there is a really lovely picture of the therapist. I've not included it on the screen because I want to keep this anonymous, but the therapist is looking into the screen. She's smiling and it's a warm and inviting photograph. Also, the color palette, she got these muted, kind of autumnal colors, which are very soothing and calming, which is important for this kind of website. When someone lands on your website homepage, they want to feel immediately oriented as to what you do and who you help. And at the moment, that information is not jumping out at me. All the information that a homepage needs is actually on this page, but it's not yet structured in a way that makes it easy for the visitor to understand what this therapist does and who they help. This page lacks an H1 heading and also a positioning statement. So an H1 heading would be the largest heading on the page, and it will make it immediately obvious the type of work the therapist does or the category of the work that they do. The next positioning statement will also be a heading, but it will be an H2 heading. And there is a formula that some coaches and therapists use, which is I help a group of people that you help with the challenge that they're facing, and then so that they can the desired outcome. So that's a formula that some coaches use, and some variation on that would make for a really good positioning statement. So once you have your main heading and then your subheading positioning statement, what that immediately does is tell a visitor whether they are in the right place and what this therapist does, and whether to stick around and read what's on the rest of the website because it looks like they can help them with their challenge. A next good section would be a brief introduction to the therapist. At the moment, that brief introduction is at the top of the page. I'll just zoom in. The first thing a visitor to your website wants to do is know that they are in the right place and that the therapist is somebody who can help them. So the introduction would be better to come after the heading and the positioning statements. And this is a nice introduction. The next headings on the homepage that really let your visitor know whether or not they're in the right place are who you work with, which this therapist has put here. Also, another good heading is the challenges that you help with, and also how you can help them. So that will include the modalities that you use. So all this information is on this page, but at the moment, the visitor has to work quite hard to piece together all the information. And when you have clear headings on a page, it makes it very easy for somebody to scan the page, find the information that they're looking for, and then they feel confident that they're in the right place and to take the next move. This therapist works with a wide variety of people. So, what I would suggest here is if this therapist works with one group of people more than others, they could perhaps focus on this particular group of people as their primary client, and then also list the other kinds of clients that they work with. That will just break up this equal weighting. So, right now, the challenges that this therapist can help with are listed under the who they work with section. So, individuals who are struggling with problems such as anxiety, depression, burnout, trauma, grief, difficulties adjusting to stressful circumstances. So, this would be good to move into its own section with a heading along the lines of how I can help you. And instead of having this in a long sentence, break the challenges out into bullet points, and then that makes scanning the page much easier. The next heading, the next piece of information that's going to bring clarity to this page is how the therapist works, what modalities that they use. And this therapist has listed their modalities up in their first paragraph. They talk about they're a counseling psychologist, a life coach, and they offer clinical supervision as well. And that information needs to be pulled out under its own heading so that the visitor will understand the kind of approaches that this therapist uses. Once the visitor is clear about who the therapist helps, what they help with, and how they help, the next thing is to have a very clear call to action button. And that could be something along the lines of visit my services page, send me a message, book a call, whatever it is, it needs to feel reassuring. It needs to feel clear what that next step is. So, just to sum up then on this page, as I said, all the information that's needed is on the page. The structure will really help to clarify who this therapist helps, what they help with, and how they help. So that when the visitor first visits the page, they very quickly know whether this therapist is somebody who can help them or not. The next quick, easy fix that will have a big impact is to increase the color contrast on the text so that it's easy to read and reduce the text column. And the third quick fix that would make a big difference is to have a clear call to action, because at the moment there's no encouragement to contact the therapist or even what the visitor should do next. And a clear call to action will remove any confusion or hesitation about getting in touch. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful. And if you have any questions or if you'd like your own clarity review, there's a link in the description box below.